Hey, everyone. Welcome to Unique Ways with Thomas Gerard, an audio podcast. Had a really great guest on today, VP Global Creative at Atlassian, leading a multidiscipline team of creative brand design ops and production. Previously, he was Global Chief Creative Officer for Reality Labs at Meta. Please join me in welcoming Josh Higgins. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Ready for 20 questions?
I'm ready. Bring it on.
Great. Question one, tell me a little bit more about yourself. What do you do?
Well, I think you've explained some of the career already. Yeah, I'm a dad and husband. So that is probably that's a big part of what I do. And then, as you mentioned, I lead the creative and brand teams at Atlassian, and that's creating really helping empower every team to do their best work. Essentially furthering Atlassian's mission through our customer touch points.
Great. And just a note for our audience, if you guys are interested in the C-suite episodes, definitely check out the episode with C-suite designer Roger Vanderheed. Okay, question two, what's a key piece of knowledge that makes you different?
Well, I was talking about being a creative as my second career. I started out in music and playing in bands for the from very early teenage years all the way through my late 20s. And in the early days of playing music, I somehow always took on the role of not only playing bass but also being the band's manager. So that's promoting our shows, dealing with club owners, and I think I learned a lot of skills during that time that are applicable to what I do now as a creative and leading creative teams um, and building brands. Very a lot of parallels, and through my career, I found that there's a lot of other folks in the creative field that come from music and bands. So yeah, the early days of being in bands were really spent promoting and finding gigs and booking tours, and luckily towards at the end of our career we had managers and record labels and things doing that for us. But I'm really glad I had that experience, and I think it really helps me in my career today.
Great. So question three, why this of all things? Why do you do what you do?
It's related to the last question. I think once I realized wasn't sure that music was something I wanted to do for the rest of my working days. I really needed to find something as a creative outlet that I could that could sort of, for lack of a better word, replace music as a career. So I was introduced to design through a friend who had just gone through a design program, and was a little resistant because I didn't know what design was. And then they encouraged me to take a typography class, and so that was the first class I took, first and only class, and I learned about typography and just completely fell in love with design from there, and then that really sort of kicked off this career.
Great. Some people struggle with number four, but the question is, what does your future look like?
Mm. Um, it's pretty simple, I think. Just to keep learning and growing, both of as a creative, but probably more importantly as a human. Um, I think that is something that I found is really a fuel for me, and an inspiration is to always have that learning and growing um, happening in my life in one way or another. And so I think with everything I do, I sort of look for those attributes.
Great. And five we say is unique to this show. The question is, let's talk about location. How does the notion of place play into what you do?
So yeah, I'm curious. Like, what do you say place? Can you define that?
Yeah, we have a range of responses to this. Some people talk about a geographic place. Some people talk about a more of a philosophical place
Hmm.
or a personal place. It's kind of up to you.
Okay, great. The way I took it is like the place where I work. And so if you look at my career, uh, the being on a mission and having a mission that aligns with my personal values is really important. So when I think about the place where I work, whether it was for President Obama or the early days of Facebook, or now here at Atlassian, the mission of that place is the most important to me.
Great. And six, if you had to start from the beginning, what advice would you give your former younger self?
Hmm. It's a couple actually. One would be start earlier. um, the other is and something that it wasn't until well, it's been a while now, but it wasn't until pretty deep in my career that I realized that as creatives, we think much differently about things than some of maybe other people that we work with. And I learned that from trying to explain an idea and maybe leaving parts out that I thought were just inherently obvious, and realizing that no, they're actually not. But when you speak with other creatives, they are. But and so then that really made me think about, wow, yeah, the way a creative's brain works is much different, and subsequently that's why we have jobs and what we do, because we do think differently than maybe some other disciplines do.
Great. And seven, what's a day in your life like?
It starts with my son and ends with my son. I have an 8-year old, and it's been one of my the best projects I've ever had. So it's really setting him up for his day. I really enjoy. We walk to school, and it's like probably the one of my favorite parts of my day. We have great conversations, and it really puts me in a great mindset to start my workday. And then Atlassian is a all remote company, so I rarely go in. We have offices, but I rarely go into the office, and so I come back home and I log on and start tackling the various problems or challenges or opportunities that we have at Atlassian, from a creativity standpoint, obviously. And then I end my day again with my son, and going out in the backyard. And his current obsession is cars, and so we've been going to car dealerships and looking at cars, um, and learning all about Lamborghinis, McLarens. He has very good taste. So those are definitely cars we do not have in our driveway. So we go to dealerships and learn about
We recently had Jessica Hish on the show, and she starts her day the same way. She walks her kids to school or to the bus stop that goes to school. So, question
them.
eight is around lifelong learning. It's a popular topic. How do you stay up to date?
Yeah, I really follow my curiosity. So I don't really have any one sort of one way that I do it, or a ritual, or something that I do every day. It's sort of, I follow my curiosity and sort of what is piquing my interest at that time. Um, so it could be like it could be from a talk that I see or a book that I read. Um, I definitely, I definitely keep up to up to date with current events and things, but I think that's less of an inspiration for me rather than just like things that I'm curious about.
Great. And 9 is around tools. What tools do you use? Do you use both digital and analog tools?
I do, I do, I do, I do a lot of writing, and that is not done on a computer. Although, it usually ends up on the computer in a digital format, and then I think to myself, why didn't I just start there? But I really like the act of pen or pencil to paper. And that's, I've tried so many different list apps because I have so many different lists that I keep of things I want to do or things I want to read or things I want to watch. And I always try to start them digitally, but no matter how hard I've tried, it's been a decade or more that I've tried to do this, it always ends up on paper. So pencil and paper is where it starts with both drawing, um, sketching ideas. Most of my ideas are done with writing, not necessarily a sketch, but sort of like writing out the idea and how it might work and how it connects with the objective. So, but I would say I do use both, but probably pen and paper is probably the first go to is where it starts.
Great. And halfway number 10, how do you deal with work life or life work balance?
Hmm. Yeah, that's been really hard for me my entire life because both things that I've done for my career have been things that I'm very passionate about. So it's really hard for me to stop and turn off. And I would probably say with my current with being a creative, it never really turns off. So I have to be very conscious of making sure that I'm making space and room for other things. It's easy to do with my son because because he's there, but then I need to remember to take time off work, to book vacations and things like that because yeah, because I really enjoy and love what I do. I really enjoy and love the people I work with. So it's a real blurred line between work and life, and so I have to make a very conscious effort uh, to separate them.
Grade in 11, if you weren't doing what you do now, what would you be doing?
Definitely be doing something in music. Uh, whether it's playing music and or you know since doing working working in creativity and doing broadcast spots, whether they're for TV or just video. Uh, I've worked with a lot of different music composers over the years and realized, wow, that would be something that would be really fun to do if I didn't do this. Is combining these two things of marketing and music. So it'd probably be something in music though.
Great. And the flip side, what would you not like to do with your career?
I would like not to be a meter maid. I don't know if you know what that is. That's the people who drive around those little carts and give people tickets. Uh, that looks like probably the worst thing that you could do. I don't I've never heard a kind word spoken about that profession. I personally don't have, thankfully, I don't have a negative thing to say about it, but it just looks like that could be a really tough career. So I think I would avoid that one.
Great. And 13, do you have a favorite word, quote, or sentence?
I do. It actually starts with a question. The question is, how are you supposed to treat others? And the answer is, there is no others.
Hmm. How about a least favorite word, quote, or sentence?
The flip side of that would be, you don't belong here.
You're choosing one word to describe yourself. What word would it be?
Earnest. I think no matter what it is that I'm interested in or doing, I'm very earnest about them.
What keeps you up at night?
The world and current state of affairs, and I'm not just talking about politics. Um, just sort of everything that's going on in the world and the division is really it definitely keeps me up at night, and it's the one word I would have for that is just really sad.
Final stretch here. What's a dream you're chasing?
Being the best version of myself or human I can be. That's been the older I get, the more important that becomes. And some of the things that used to serve me in the way that I function don't serve me anymore, and realize it probably wasn't the best. And so I'm always trying to be better and do better.
18, what inspires you?
Um, people that do what they do well. And so let me explain that a little bit. So I went to go a couple of years ago, went to go get a storage space to um, to hold some things I didn't have room for in my house, and I was really dreading the experience. Um, and so, but I had to do it. So I walk in there, I talk to the guy at the front desk, and he was so helpful. He knew everything about the storage spaces. Uh, he knew the sizes. He asked me what he had some great questions to help me figure out what I needed. Then he took me on a tour and showed me around and showed me each one, and um, just made my whole experience like completely different than what I expected. And I realized, he's sitting behind a desk. There was no one else there. I would imagine it's not a super high paying job, but he took it so seriously and was so invested in what he was doing, and made my experience so much better than what I expected, that I was really inspired by that. And I think that's what I mean when I say that.
Nice. And any advice you'd like to share?
Um, yeah, it's something I've said for a long time, and it's always with heart. And what I mean by that, I don't mean like follow your heart. I don't mean uh, anything like that. I just mean like whatever you choose to do, always do it with heart. And so that means put yourself into it, um, and don't hurt other people or in the pursuit of that thing.
Great. And finally, number 20, how can our listeners keep tabs on you? What's our call to action?
I think Instagram is probably the best way. I don't post all the time, but usually, but I'm pretty active on there. And then if you want to check out work, it's joshhiggins.com. I put most recent work up there, or the work that I think people will be most interested in is there. Those are probably two places you can keep tabs on me.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining today. To have someone of your caliber on the show is a real kind of treat for us. So thank you so much for joining today.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.